Sometimes it is easier for us to draw our own conclusions than to ask the person directly. Sometimes the explanation about the situation is too simple, and we make up a problem for ourselves and suffer for it. Grace and I were together for 3 years and 7 months. We graduated from college, started working. During the year, I saved more or less a decent amount of money and came to my beloved with flowers and a ring. I had no idea her reaction would be like this. James, you're good. You're very good. She started stroking my head. And you? You're the best. I pronounced dreamily and reached out even further with the cherished box. James, why didn't you consult me? My beauty asked. I also wondered what kind of surprise it would be. Well, how she envisioned it. James, we are different. We think differently. We live differently. We can't be a family. Dating, yes, but not marriage. There's a chasm between us. Think about it. I left the flowers and ring on the table, ran out of her apartment, and just left. I had worked for this relationship for so long, figured out what she liked, what she didn't like. Quit smoking for her? Tried please. Nurture. All she saw in me was a guy to date. I wasn't going to stand for it. I circled the neighborhood for a couple more hours and couldn't bring myself to go home. Tears came to my eyes, and I felt alone and abandoned. For at least 6 months, I thought about Grace every day. Maybe even every hour, even with a loud group of friends. I was usually moody and depressed. The guys tried to entertain me, but I couldn't get over my ex-girlfriend. I couldn't forgive her for that kind of response. But fate had put everything in its place, and in such a strange way. After a while, I realized that they were trying to set me up with different girls. I went on dates with my friends' unmarried sisters, cousins, and neighbors. Second dates didn't happen very often. Third dates were even rarer. Many blew me off the first night and refused to give me their phone number. A few ladies I sent home in a cab after half an hour. Bottom line, I was lonely as I had been before. I didn't know my girlfriend was waiting for me in a completely different place. Guys had pretty much given up hope of getting me into good female hands. I think the guys had already given up on my personal life and decided to accept me as I was. Last spring, I called Tom and offered to fly to Costa Rica for a week. There are now such promotions, I looked, inexpensive tours while not seasoned. A familiar guy from the travel agency told me when and where to go. I managed to take part of the vacation at work, and I melancholically began to collect things and thoughts. We were flying as a foursome, only the closest of friends. Our male company was determined. Disco until morning, pleasant sit-downs at the bar, bright sunshine, and clear water. According to the guys, it was to become well, the best medicine for my moping. In principle, I was in agreement with their prescription of cure. On the beach, I'd looked around looking for a girl who would like me outwardly and then become a close friend. But many were couples here, and singles were not very impressive. But I didn't know then that I needed to look for my destiny not with my eyes. It was halfway through the vacation when an emergency happened on the beach. A 10-year-old boy almost drowned, but that wasn't the end of the story. In the beginning, there were screams of help. A girl on the shore was thrashing from side to side and calling for help. From her look and outstretched arms, it was clear where to look. A few meters from the shore, a young boy was going underwater. The girl was very excited. It was clear. I immediately strewn my things on the beach and rushed to the boy. I pulled him up by his hair and fixed him on my arm. Then I started to slowly head for the shore. In a minute, the lifeguards took the child from me. They put him on a stretcher and began to examine him. A screaming madam came over and started to say that the kid had overestimated himself. Swam far and extremely bad timing, got acquainted with such a thing as a cramp. The result was a scare and a mouthful of salt water. Another couple seconds and he wouldn't have surfaced. You got here just in time, one of the lifeguards said and shook my hand. The woman made sure the baby was out of danger and turned her attention to me. She thanked me a million times, asking what she could do for me. I don't think I need a thank you. I said, embarrassed, and hurried away, but before she did, she asked what room I was staying in. Toward dinner time, a bottle of champagne and a note were brought to my room. Thanks to you, a good boy is alive today. Please come and visit us for dinner. Below that was the room number and time. I had underestimated the vauderie of the occasion. It seemed like a bad idea to me to have dinner with a mom and her son. But it's not like I didn't already know one important secret about this family. After reading the note to my friends, I tossed it on the table. "It'll be good if you bring this bottle with you." My friend Paul began. "It'll be just the thing for you to do." "Why would I want to go?" I said. "This is a grown woman, even though she looks 23. She didn't give birth to him at 13. So she's definitely 30, if not older. Just be a civilized person. Just sit there for 15 minutes and then tell her you're busy. What do you think I'm doing at the hotel? I'm delivering newspapers or putting up fences. I'm not going, that's all." But my friends are very persistent if they get their way. So I had to give in. At the appointed time, having combed my hair a little, I went in search of the room I needed. I knocked. The door was opened to me by a little boy and invited me in. We introduced ourselves, and I sat down in a chair and started a conversation. "How did you end up in this deep water, buddy?" The boy faded his gaze and mumbled something inarticulately about self-confidence and stupidity. "Ah, I take it you've already had an educational talk." He only nodded. Apparently a lot of tears had been poured out during that half day. Meanwhile, 3 beautiful plates of food were brought to the room. Over dinner and talked. Turns out we flew in from the same city. Even sent us the same agency. We settled in neighboring blocks of the same hotel. The girl said, "I don't think it's a coincidence. It's just a good price for the trip, and the firm probably only works with this hotel." I examined Audrey up close. She was very cute and sweet, but her baby naturally threw her to the bottom of the competitive list. I won't deny it. I liked her then. And she spoke very nicely, touched on interesting topics. Michael sat in front of the TV and turned on some cartoons. I remembered the bottle my new friend had brought me. We uncorked it, which attracted the boy's attention. He came over. "Yeah, are you going to drink?" "I'll tell my mom she told me to keep an eye on you." "Go ahead, call her. And I'll tell her about the little guy who almost drowned because of his own stupidity." Michael figured out the difference and said he was going to bed. And then I asked the question, which mom are we talking about? I'm like Cinderella to him, and I don't get any thanks. Anything goes wrong. I'll tell my mom, my brother. The key word here was brother. I even somehow straightened my back and involuntarily ran my hand through my hair. Right, that's why she doesn't look 30. It's just that it's not her son, but her brother. I immediately stopped wanting to leave, and the dialogue continued. Turns out there's a 12-year age difference between them. So Audrey has been babysitting him since he was a baby. Parents work a lot, so they sent the two of them to Costa Rica. I never went back to my room that night. We talked for a long time. Then we went for a walk. I enjoyed this girl's company. It seemed as if we had known each other for 100 years. In the morning, I returned to my room and began to develop a cunning plan. I contacted an acquaintance from the travel agency and asked him to find the girl's address. I didn't know the last name, only the first names. But since they also did the paperwork in this office, I had a chance. And I decided to realize my idea a little later. There were 2 days of vacation left, and I spent them together with my new acquaintances. When I arrived home, Audrey took delivery. The courier handed her a bottle of champagne and a note. It contained my phone number and an invitation for a date. Luckily, my phone rang and a familiar and already so favored voice sounded in the receiver. So, my friends, don't be afraid of new impressions, new acquaintances, and new feelings. Every day is a new chance to be happy. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel.